Good afternoon. We have breaking news for you. 2 people have been killed, 44 injured when a tour bus out of Huntsville, Alabama, overturned in DeSoto County on the slick roadway.
That's right, Joe. And we have learned through a local senior center that the bus was operated by a company called Teague Express. They are based out of Anniston, Alabama. And you can see the scene here. And just look at the conditions, Joe. You can see those wet roads and the visibility looking pretty tough out there. And there is the actual bus that clearly flipped over. And you can see people's belongings out there on the roadway, along with some video here that we have to show you. Just the shutdown that's going on there. 2 killed, 44 hurt in this tour bus crash at I-22 and I-269, Joe.
That's right. This runs through the heart of DeSoto County, and we have yet to confirm exactly where this tour bus was headed, but Tunica would be a likely destination from this Teague Express tour bus that flipped on the ice, according to the DeSoto County Sheriff's Office. DeSoto County Chief Deputy Macron Moore in the Sheriff's Office said 2 people were killed when that bus went over, 44 injured, and they were taken to area hospitals. The worst taken to Regional 1 here in Memphis, others taken to Methodist and Baptist. Of course, there is DeSoto Hospital, the Baptist Hospital DeSoto in South Haven. Also, Methodist Hospital has a hospital there in Olive Branch. And of course, the Memphis area hospitals would be the ones that well equipped to handle injuries of this kind.
And we understand that there are varying degrees of injuries for those 44 other people. The Mississippi Highway Patrol has taken over this investigation. We do know that this bus that you see that's turned over here was heading west on I-269 when it overturned on ice. Now, I've looked up Teague's information on their website here, and it shows that they are a charter bus car service. They cover corporate events, conventions, family reunions, casino trips, which is what we're wondering if that might be the case, golf tournaments, sporting events, all those kinds of things. But we know at least 46 people were on that bus. We're now going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers for a look at more on the conditions. Ron.
Joe and Kanji, there has been light snow coming down in that area. I want to go to our first alert Doppler 5 radar in the fast track mode and show you the activity in the area that we have been watching right there around Byhalia. We have Highway 78 right here, and you can see there has been light snow and still continues to fall in that area, and even around Highway 309 as well. And that's where we're seeing the slick conditions that are on the road. Now, much of northern Mississippi and Highway 78 from Tupelo into Holly Springs has been relatively precipitation free with the exception of a little light rain. But the colder air has been right here around the Byhalia area. And from reports we're getting, that's where the bus ran into the slippery road conditions that may have contributed to this accident that we're talking about. Again, the precipitation is still coming down. It looks like it will be lifting out, but road conditions in and around that area remain hazardous and slick. Joe and Kanji?
All right, there we see the emergency vehicles on scene, and in our wider picture, which we saw the MDOT camera, we saw that the exit for Highway 78, what we call Lamar Avenue, is right there. You see where it says west on 78 there? So that's how we know this accident occurred. You see the emergency lights on the left and the sign there on the right that this happened right near I-269 on that interstate there, the new interstate through DeSoto County, there at Highway 78, the well-traveled road, which we call Lamar Avenue here in Memphis, that goes all the way to Birmingham. And 78 is where this tour bus crash happened, I-269 and Highway 78, where this bus got on some apparently icy roadways, according to the DeSoto County Sheriff's Office, and the vehicle tipped over, killing 2 of the passengers aboard and leaving 44 others on the bus injured.
Okay, well, I also reached out to Regional 1. We've been seeing fender benders as well, just all around the area. The roads are slick out there, and I reached out to Regional 1. They say that they, as the only level 1 trauma center in the area, they are ready to accommodate any injured individuals. So as we know, that is the main place where anyone with the most serious injuries are going to head to Regional 1, right over here across the state line in Tennessee here. But as you can see, the roads just shut down. these cars, just trying to get through. But we know that it's a difficult situation out there, and we're working to find out more about exactly who was on this tour bus. That's going to be the big question, because it appears that they were coming from Alabama, but it's unclear if they were returning.
Well, they were westbound, so they may
westbound.
have been on 269 headed toward Tunica. This would have taken them right to Hernando and then possibly on to Tunica County. And one can surmise a tour bus coming from Huntsville, at the time of year we're in, the time of day we have, these were likely older people who were perhaps on a trip. Now, this is just speculation at this point, to Tunica, but it would be a very likely destination. There are many tour companies that operate and go to Tunica across the southeast from states that do not have casino gambling. And so this would be a likely scenario in this case. But here's the situation as we see it, a scene setter for you here. Emergency vehicles remain on the scene. WMC Action News 5 with you live now as we look at these pictures from I-269 at Highway 78 in DeSoto County, where a tour bus out of Huntsville, Alabama, actually Anniston, nearby Anniston, Alabama, came through here a short time ago and tipped over, killing 2 of the people on the icy roadway and 44 others injured.
And we are getting some more information. We do know that 19 of the injured are at Baptist DeSoto. Another challenging situation, we're just learning that the director of safety for Hospital Wing is telling us that the Hospital Wing is grounded. So if there were any injuries that needed the Hospital Wing to pick them up by helicopter, that could not have happened. But we now have eyes on the scene. We can bring you Nick Gunter. He's been out there. Nick, what are you seeing? What do you know so far?
Hey, Kanji and Joe. Yeah, we actually have been traversing the area since noon today, and I can tell you that a lot of bridges and overpasses in this area are very icy. Now, when we made our way here to the interchange of 269 and Highway 78/Interstate 22, we can tell you that we can see 4 bridges back here. I think these bridges actually go over Old Highway 78, just north of Byhalia, so that's where we're located. And pretty active scene. When we showed up, there was a lot of first responders. I saw several fire trucks. I also saw several ambulances. Things are starting to calm down now, as I'm sure all of those injured have been transported away. But you can still see the bus on its side here, just off of Interstate 269. So they're actually actively right now trying to get that bus upright. And unfortunately, you can see just pieces of probably personal items from inside the bus just kind of thrown on the shoulder here of the interstate. So a very active scene taking place. I can tell you the weather is getting worse by the second. A lot of snow falling right now. The grass has been getting a little bit more covered since we've been out here since about 12:30 or so. So definitely a very active scene taking place, starting to calm down now. The good news is they have started reopening portions of I-269 near Interstate 22, Highway 78. But still, this is the southbound lanes that are still closed where this bus is. If you remember recently, Interstate 269 just opened as the fast way to Tunica. So I'm not sure where this bus was going, but still a lot of people actively here on the side of the road. And of course, we'll continue following this scene throughout the afternoon, trying to get more information of where it was going, where this bus was going, and what actually caused this accident. But I can tell you this, there is a pretty lengthy bridge right there where this bus crossed, right where it's fallen over. So of course we're going to keep it, we're going to keep here at the scene and keep you up to date, and we'll send it back into you, Joe, and Kanji.
All right, thanks very much, Nick Gunter. Please stay on the scene for us. We have more questions for you, but right now we are joined by phone by the Chief Deputy of the DeSoto County Sheriff's Department, Mr. Macon Moore. And Mr. Moore, can you share with us the information that you have about how this accident happened?
We had a tour bus which was westbound on I-69, and as it crossed the 78-69 interchange, It obviously encountered a patch of ice and overturned. At this time, the Highway Patrol, Mississippi Highway Patrol, is working the crash. We're assisting them, but we had a multi-agency response. We had EMS units from every city in DeSoto County, as well as fire equipment, extrication equipment respond. South Haven Police, DeSoto County Sheriff's Department, the Mississippi Highway Patrol. It was a multi-agency response to work this crash. There were 46 persons on board. We did have 2 fatalities and multiple persons transported to local area hospitals.
Sir, do you know if there are elderly people that were on this bus?
I have no occupant information at this time. I just cleared the scene, and the nexus was to get the people into a warm bus or an EMS unit and get them off the scene and transported as quickly as possible. That's what we're working to do now, is help the Highway Patrol identify the occupants and try to determine who they were, where they're going, all that information.
And we see that the bus turned over right at the edge of that bridge there. Are you suspecting that maybe an iced over bridge could have been the cause?
We're working several crashes on our overpasses at this moment, so I'm going to say that probably was a significant factor, yes.
One more thing, I just do want to know, was there any preparation by the city there or the county there to brine the roads in advance?
Yes, our county road department's been out all day. This is a state highway, so I'm not sure whether it was treated yet or not.
Well, Chief Deputy, with 46 people aboard that bus, 2 fatalities and 44 injuries, how did your EMS respond? How many ambulances did you send? Did everyone in DeSoto County?
Idea. We had every resource in the county probably respond. It was a team effort by just about every municipality and county EMS department in our county.
So it was all hands on deck. We are looking at a live picture right now, Mr. Chief Deputy, of 2 Mississippi Highway Patrol vehicles and other law enforcement agency vehicles right by the bus, which is on its side, as you know, and the hatches in the roof of the bus are open. Do you know if the people who were aboard the bus had to go through those hatches in order to escape?
The fire department actually cut a hole in the top to do some extrication.
So that's
probably what you're looking at.
I see. Okay, so the fire department from Hernando or where?
That we had every fire agency in the Olive Branch, South Haven, Hernando, local county fire departments. Everybody responded. Who did the extrication? I'm not sure.
What time exactly was this? And
I received a call at 12:34.
Okay. And how long are you expecting this scene to maybe be there? Do you think it's going to go into rush hour and whatnot?
The Highway Patrol's waiting on their traffic reconstructionist from Jackson that works commercial motor vehicle crashes. He was about 30 minutes out. Once he makes a scene, takes his measurements and photographs, we'll turn the bus over and open the road back up.
Well, what about the various injuries, Chief Deputy? Do you know the variety of injuries people are facing?
I have no idea at this time. No, sir.
Okay. Well, this is one of the worst accidents we've ever seen here in the Mid-South in these conditions right here of late. We haven't really seen anything like this with the numbers involved in recent memory.
I've been here 20 years. Been in this business for 27 years, and this is probably the worst one, the largest one I've ever worked.
Yes, sir. So
what are the next steps here? I know you said that there's going to be a team coming in to assess the situation. And where do you go from here?
The Highway Patrol, Mississippi Highway Patrol, is going to work the accident. Basically, once we assist them in clearing the scene, it's going to be theirs.
Turn it over. Okay.
Well, we want to thank you very much, Chief Deputy Macon Moore, for making time to share this information with our viewers who obviously will want the very latest information on all of this. And DeSoto County, what will your deputies be doing in regard to this accident over the rest of the afternoon?
Once we get the roadway clear, we'll basically, our involvement will be done. Other than we do have some deputies at the hospital trying to trying to get the names of the occupants and assist the Highway Patrol with that aspect. But the wreck and the reconstruction is the Mississippi Highway Patrol's investigation.
All right. You mentioned that you're working on numerous other accidents involving roadway bridges.
We've got an 18-wheeler overturned about probably 5 miles east of this wreck on 269, and then that's another major. We've got the roadway blocked for that. That's just probably 5 miles east of this crash, and we've got numerous other small accidents we're working.
Well, thank you for all that you do, and we know you have a very busy day, and we may be checking back in with you later. And once again, thank you for taking time out to share this critical information with the public, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That was our Chief Deputy Macon Moore in DeSoto County sharing with us the latest information on this crash that killed 2 passengers, left 44 other people injured. We're going to go to Ron Childers here momentarily.
But first, we understand that our Brandon Richard has actually been in contact with the Teague Express bus company. So we're going to check in with Brandon. What are they telling you, Brandon?
Well, Kanji, I spoke real briefly. The conversation lasted less than a minute on the phone with the owner of the Teague bus service. I believe it's called the Teague Express, or VIP Express is the actual company's name. I talked to a gentleman named Tyrone Teague. He's confirmed that he is the owner, and he confirmed that it was his bus that crashed there in DeSoto County. He told me that the company is working on a statement right now. They're hoping to release that statement this afternoon at some time, but he told me that he was more concerned about the passengers that were on board that bus, and then he hung up the phone. So the conversation didn't last very long, but I was able to confirm that he was the owner, that this was his bus involved in this crash in DeSoto County.
But we don't know the destination, right, Brandon? We're still trying to figure that out.
We are still trying to figure that out, and we're also trying to figure out exactly who was on this bus that was coming from Alabama.
All right, very good. That's our Brandon Richard, who has been on the phone with the owner of the tour bus that crashed on I-269 at Highway 78 in DeSoto County, where 2 people were killed and 44 injured. We understand a number of the victims in this crash have been transferred to the Baptist Hospital in Collierville, which is relatively close. As we saw in our MDOT shot there's an exit sign that says Collierville on it.
Right.
That's very near the scene here. And this, is just south of Collierville. That sign there on the right says Collierville. And so it's a close trip.
Right, the Regional 1 health patients were transferred there to Collierville. So it's, I guess it's a situation where they're doing some type of triage to figure out, which places they should go. But we're going to now check in with Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers. You have some information to share with us, Ron?
Yeah, let's take a look at our First Alert Doppler 5 because I want to show you the precipitation that is in and around that area. Now, the focus has been on the Byhalia area right there on Highway 78. Let's go to the Viper mode and let me show you as a zoomed in look at what we're looking at right now, because right there along the DeSoto Marshall County line, we're seeing snow falling in. It has been rather light for the most part, but just as you get past Victoria into Byhalia, and right there at where 22 connects, that's where we've seen the most snow. Now, we have another product on our First Alert Doppler 5 radar, road temperatures. Those road temperatures were above freezing. However, bridges and overpasses can be at or below freezing due to the current air temperature, and that's where we think we saw the icing, as you saw in Nick's live shot moments ago with the bridge behind him and the overturned bus just beyond that. It is quite possible that bus hit a patch of ice on that bridge and lost control, leading to this tragic incident. We're continuing to watch the weather. Snow is still falling, and there's possibly more to come for that area.
And Ron, we're just learning that Baptist Hospital is now on code disaster. That means no employees are allowed to leave the hospital. So pretty intense situation. And now we're going to check in with Nick Gunter, who is there at the scene. Nick.
Hey, Kanji and Joe, I remember y'all talking about Collierville. This is about 20 miles from Collierville on Interstate 269. So they had to travel a little ways to get there to that hospital. And like you said, there are 4 bridges. So this area right here is a bridge that goes over a railroad track, and then old Highway 78 just north of Byhalia. Conditions are continuing to worsen here, and it looks like they are trying to attempt to flip this bus upright and try to, I guess, move it out. But like you mentioned, you can still see all of the, I guess, people's belongings along the highway here. No one's allowed to come this direction. As you mentioned, the state highway is going to have to come do a survey of this and see what exactly happened. I'm noting along these bridges, granted, we've been out here for an hour or so now, and the bridges are getting worse. I'm sure there probably could be some slick spots, so it'll be interesting to see if this actually is a cause of this wreck here. But I will make a note of this. When we were traveling down Highway 78 from Olive Ranch to come to this scene, the bridges were actually very treacherous. We actually saw an accident happen right behind our First Alert Storm Tracker. A car was going too fast over a bridge, and it just spun out and smacked the guardrail. Interesting note, too, we were just kind of surveying the area here. We're technically right in Marshall County. That's where this accident is. I see the DeSoto County line right behind my shoulder. But there's an MDOT facility right here on the shoulder. We see several MDOT trucks there. Seems like a salt pile. So MDOT facility is right here next to these bridges. And I'm sure they're going to be very busy trying to treat these bridges as we continue to see these roads conditions. So just so you know, I know we should say DeSoto County. It looks like this is technically in Marshall County, because I do see the DeSoto-Marshall County line right here at this interchange. So a very active scene that's still taking place. We still have several first responders out here, and I will notice when we were stuck on Interstate 22 Highway 78, we did see many ambulances racing down the highway to get to this scene. I'm sure transporting some of those people to the various hospitals where they're going. So we're going to stay out here at the scene. We're going to keep you up to date with what is happening, and we'll send you back into the studio, Joe and Kanji.
All right, thanks very much, Nick. We have been getting our information from DeSoto County, and this is right apparently on the Marshall-DeSoto County line. And so every municipality in DeSoto County responded to this accident scene. The chief deputy told us that Macon Moore told us that every EMS vehicle, every ambulance in the county made this scene earlier today, just after 12:30, at 12:34 this afternoon, when this bus crashed. And as Kanji just told us, Baptist Hospital is on disaster mode, and so that means all hands on deck. All the staff at the Baptist Collierville Hospital are on duty.
Yes, and they cannot leave, actually. It's just an emergency situation. And we have our Kelly Cook, who's been on the phone. She is on her way to this crash, but she has been collecting information and speaking with several people who are in the know about what exactly is going on here. Kelly, what new information can you share with us?
Yeah, I just arrived, Kanji, on the scene here at Baptist DeSoto. We were curious, obviously, about how they were dealing with any patients from that tour bus crash. When we arrived on the scene, we got here just about 5 minutes ago. We did see a few law enforcement vehicles that were here on the scene. Not sure if they were a part of the escort that brought those patients to this hospital. But I was able to speak with a spokesperson with Baptist Hospital. They're telling me here at Baptist DeSoto, there are currently 18 patients being treated from that tour bus crash. We're being told of those 18 patients, 3 are serious, 15 undetermined. I asked if they could give me any more information about their conditions. As of right now, they're working to get more information, but that's all that she could release at this time. I've also been in contact with Methodist. I do believe some patients were transferred there as well. We are waiting to hear back definitively about numbers and their conditions as well. Kanji, I can tell you on our way up here, we certainly had to take it nice and slow. You see the signs up asking people to be very cautious on those bridges, on those overpasses. You slip a little bit and it is wet and the snow is certainly coming down. So you'll want to be careful when traveling out and about in the DeSoto County area. But again, here at Baptist DeSoto, 18 patients being treated here, 3 serious, 15 undetermined. I'm continuing to work the phones to see to get more information as it comes in. Kanji, Joe, back to you.
All right, thanks, Kelly Cook. As we see a live image of a tow truck operator righting this Teague Express bus, and there it is, a large bang there as the vehicle was uprighted and back on its wheels after crashing at 12:34 this afternoon. It was on its side until 3:06 just now, almost 3 hours on its side there, 3 hours almost after this crash. You can see all the windows are blown out on the side of our camera here, and folks' belongings all along the side of this highway as the crews on scene, the first responders, are going through folks' items and looking for any information or valuables that may be strewn on the roadside. But the chief deputy told us that the Mississippi Highway Patrol reconstruction expert is on the way here, and he must have arrived because they need to be able to see the scene as it was when first responders first made the scene at 12:34 this afternoon, so that they can reconstruct the accident. And so that must be that individual who's reconstructing the scene from Jackson, Mississippi, and the Mississippi Highway Patrol. And he gave the all clear to get the bus back on its wheels so that they can ultimately move it out of the way, tow it to a safe location. And as Nick Gunner just showed us, there's an MDOT office just right there, right off of I-269 at Highway 78.
You know, Joe, just on an emotional level, it just really struck me seeing them go through these belongings. It just shows just how violent this accident was, and just to see all of these personal belongings and all of these lives just just jarred. And obviously, two people's lives lost here. As you can see, the snow just coming down really heavy, and just people's clothes and personal items and their bags. And they were headed to a trip where they were expecting to find joy, and this is just tragic. Now, we have been in contact with WAFF out of Alabama. That is a news crew, a news station there. They are sending a team here. We do know that they're telling us that the driver of this bus has worked for the company for many years and is known to be very reliable. And based on reports from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, this company, Teague, has 3 units. They all meet safety guidelines. And this appears to be the company's first crash, as we see people's clothes, a step stool there, just random items that were on that bus when this tour bus just violently lost control and flipped over, flipping over 46 people who are now at hospitals.
And I noted on the header of the bus there, it said number 550. Number 550 is on the top of that bus, and it's also on the side of the bus. That's the bus number. And we'll want to invite our colleagues from WAFF and our friends in Alabama to investigate the latest inspection reports on this particular unit. We'll want to know the last time that safety inspectors had a chance to comb over this bus and look at how it was functioning. So it's bus number 550 that we'll want to let our friends in Huntsville know about, so that they can look up the safety records and investigate the last inspection this bus had and what kind of marks it got for tire wear and of the variety of other mechanical inspections that take place on a regular basis by the state of Alabama.
And Joe, we've been hearing just no information yet about anyone's condition. We know 2 people died, but we're just getting our first information about just one of the victims in this crash. From what I understand from WAFF, there is a 74-year-old woman who was on board. Her son telling WAFF that she has a broken shoulder, broken ribs and is having trouble breathing. So that's just how intense some of the more serious injuries are, as more information is trickling in about this tragic bus crash with the Teague Express bus out of Anniston, Alabama, that got into this accident right here in the middle of our snow event.
And we have just received word that they were going to Tunica. That was the. All right. So our colleagues at WAFF in Huntsville, Alabama, are talking with family members who were aboard this bus. And according to those family members and our colleagues at WAFF, that's who we're attributing this to, the bus was indeed on its way to Tunica, Mississippi, and the resorts that are there, the casinos that are available there and they don't have access to in North Alabama. And that's where this Teague Express bus was heading from the Huntsville area to Tunica. And we have understood that at least one of the victims who has the broken shoulder was in her 70s. And so an older crowd possibly aboard this bus headed to Tunica from Huntsville. Ron Childers, our chief meteorologist, has been keeping a careful eye on this. He called this storm for us all week, and he is here now to tell us exactly what's happening with the weather.
Yeah, a tragic turn of events, Joe, is a result, what could be a result of the weather. Let's take a look at what is occurring right now, because we have seen light snow coming down primarily around eastern Arkansas, but from Memphis into northern Mississippi and into that area in question right now, right there along the DeSoto-Marshall County line, light snow, somewhat of a mix, really, of a cold rain and light snow has been falling for the last few hours, and it continues to fall, now spreading a little farther east into Victoria. But right around Byhalia, just before you get to the DeSoto County line, we've seen light snow coming down in that area. Now, as far as road conditions go, well, we've only seen trace amounts in that area and really nothing measurable at this time. However, bridges and overpasses are susceptible simply because they can cool faster than the road itself. If you look at this, these are road temperatures around the area. Those outlined in blue from around Trenton to Brownsville, Bolivar, they're at or below the freezing mark. We don't see that around Marshall County into Memphis along Highway 78, where road temperatures are expected to be about 35 to 36 degrees. However, because air is circulating underneath bridges and overpasses, and with temperatures hovering right at or just below freezing in some areas, you can get these microclimates where those temperatures are below the freezing mark. Well, as precipitation hits these overpasses, it can freeze and create icing or glazing just on those elevated roads, and that may have contributed to this. Again, precipitation still falling. This will sweep around and show you the activity that's coming down, mainly light precipitation, but enough to complicate the cleanup situation that is taking place there right now. And it looks like there could be more snow to come as we get into the evening hours. I do want to take this time to stress to anyone and everyone to just stay home if you do not have to be out, because the icing that could be taking place on bridges and overpasses, especially into eastern Arkansas and along parts of West Tennessee and northwestern Mississippi. As you can see, it can get very slippery, very dangerous out there, and oftentimes you hit this and not know it until you're already sliding along. Joe and Kanji.
All right, thanks very much, Ron Childers. As we look at this scene, if you're just joining us, 2 people were killed when the bus you see here in this picture turned on its side, crashing on I-269 near Highway 78 at the Marshall-DeSoto County line in eastern DeSoto County, western Marshall County. And as you can see, emergency first responders are there. All the windows on the side of our camera here, that the bus, all the bus windows are blown out. As you can see, first responders looking at the damage. The chief deputy of the DeSoto County Sheriff's Department says every ambulance in DeSoto County was ordered to rush to this scene, and taking with them 44 people were injured, 2 people killed on this scene. We don't know the names of any of those injured at this time. We see firefighters and other first responders aboard the bus, perhaps the tow truck operator as well, trying to determine just exactly how he is going to remove this bus from right there at 269 at Highway 78. And as we saw earlier, we talked with the chief deputy about how firefighters extricated passengers through the roof. They cut a hole in the roof, and I believe there was also a hatch in that roof. It appeared that there was a hatch in the roof for just these kinds of emergency situations. And firefighters presumably had to go into that bus and extricate the 44 passengers who were injured aboard that bus. Don't know how long between the time the accident happened and first responders were able to get to the scene, but that had to be a harrowing moment for all the passengers who were aboard this bus waiting for help to arrive.
And the family of one of the victims telling WAFF out of Alabama that this group was heading to Tunica, to Fitz, the Fitz Casino there, to gamble. And we do know that some of the victims on the bus are seniors, but we're not sure if it was a bus full of seniors. And like we were explaining earlier, one of the victims, a 74-year-old woman on board, broken shoulder, broken ribs, and having trouble breathing. And you can see it looks like the tour bus is now latched onto the tow truck now as they're continuing to look through some of the items and try to just recreate exactly what happened. We're told that this team has to put together a snapshot of what went on so that they can recreate this and just really figure out what went on here and how this happened. But we do know from WAFF that this bus driver is known as a reliable person. She has been with the company for quite some time. So we're now going to check in with our Brandon Richard. He's not only been in contact with the person who owns Teague, but I understand you've also been looking into new information as well.
That's right. We've been looking at the background of this company from records that we can find. We know that according to federal records, it had a satisfactory safety rating, which was given in February of 2017, so February of last year. Satisfactory. We're told, according to these federal records, that the company owned 3 vehicles, had 3 drivers, and had undergone at least 5 inspections. And again, the last inspection noted that it had a satisfactory rating. That's from federal records. We also know that this company is based in Alabama, in eastern Alabama. It appears to be a family-owned company of some kind. Well, obviously it's a bus company, but it feels like it seems that several family members are involved in this company. I spoke to one of them, the co-owner and president, Tyrone Teague. He confirmed that it was his bus that crashed in DeSoto County. He didn't stay on the phone for very long, understandably, because he said that he was really concerned about the condition of the passengers on board that bus. But I was able to get from him that it was his company, and also that the company is right now planning to release a statement of some sort this afternoon, hopefully. But obviously, Kanji and Joe, he was very concerned about the condition of the passengers and the crew members that were on board. And also, just checking around their Facebook page, we confirmed it was headed to Tunica. This is a trip that they have made several times. I went through and looked at some of the photos on their Facebook page, and I saw a couple of times where they were headed to Tunica. So obviously, a trip that they make perhaps multiple times a year. This time, though, ending like this, unfortunately.
All right, thank you, Brandon. And, Joe, you just can't help but think of the irony of an MDOT facility directly across the road there, where you can see those trucks are, getting salt and brine that they're going to be putting on the roads. And it's just kind of an eerie, odd
It is, and it looks like it's within a half a mile of the accident scene. There's an MDOT location where there's brine and salt, presumably. Let's go to Kelly Cook now at the hospital. She's in South Haven now. Kelly, according to the measurements I've been able to make online here, it's almost 30 miles from the accident scene to South Haven, where some 18 or 19 of the victims have been taken, right?
Yeah, that's right, Joe. You're absolutely right. At the last check, initially came in as 19, but the last time I spoke to a representative with Baptist, they said it was indeed 18 patients that were transferred to this hospital that I'm at here right now, which is Baptist DeSoto. 18 patients transferred here. We're being told 3 of those patients were in serious condition. 15 undetermined, and that is the very latest. At the last time we spoke, I said that I was waiting to hear back from the folks at Methodist. She did get back with me. She said at this time they do not have any new information, no new updates. I'm presuming that means they did not receive any patients from that bus crash. Now, when I first arrived here on the scene, I just saw a couple of South Haven police cruisers leaving the area as well. We saw some other law enforcement officers. We're not quite sure if they were here escorting any of those high number of patients to this hospital, but they were there at the ER where the ambulances do come in. So again, we do know there are patients here at this hospital in South Haven. Just to give you an update on just the road conditions here in DeSoto. Our trip in was very wet, lots of snow. Starting to stick, obviously, to the ground. I spoke to someone there with Mississippi Department of Transportation telling me they were up early this morning before 6 a.m. putting salt on the roads in order to get ready for tonight. Like a lot of emergency officials, they're worried about refreezing, but they are staffed. They are ready to go in a conditions that it might get worse tonight. As for that tour bus crash, another example of how slippery and wet it is on these roads here. Slow down, take your time traveling these roads. Lots of crashes. We did see an update from MDOT at 2:45 about an accident on US 78 at 305 in Olive Branch. So lots of slick roads out there. Take your time while traveling in these treacherous conditions. Let's send it back to you.
All right, that's the good word from Kelly Cook at Baptist DeSoto in South Haven, Mississippi, right there on I-55 at Goodman Road, which is about 30 miles from the scene you're looking at right here, which is I-269 at Highway 78 in the very edge of Marshall County at the DeSoto County line, where this bus tipped over today after apparently sliding on glassy, icy, wintry conditions there on a long span of a bridge. And of course, the Mississippi Highway Patrol is handling this investigation now. But according to our chief deputy in DeSoto County, Macon Moore, it is highly likely that weather conditions, the wintry weather conditions we're experiencing today, caused this bus to turn over.
And I heard Kelly mention that they are not sure about some of the injuries, but I did reach out to Regional 1, and Angie Golding over there, who is the communications specialist there, says that they are on alert right now to help anyone who might need any help. If they find that injuries are extremely serious, they are the only level 1 trauma center in this area, but the challenge that they are looking at is their hospital wing helicopter is grounded due to the weather. So not even sure if, what the effectiveness would be to make a transfer like that if there are any really serious injuries there. They say that they will also call in more staff if necessary to handle any situation here. We do know that multiple agencies responded to this, as Chief Moore told us, Chief Deputy Moore told us. We're now going to check in with our chief meteorologist, Ron Childers. He has been tracking all the conditions all morning and afternoon. Ron, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we've still got snow coming down. It looks like the bulk of it is lifting out of that area right now, and the majority of snowfall is going to be confined to parts of eastern Arkansas, northwest Tennessee. Let's go to our first alert Doppler 5 radar. The snowfall that we've been getting in and around the Memphis metro has been very light for the most part, and it looks like we're going to continue to see this precipitation occur as we get on into the remainder of the afternoon. But if you notice around northern Mississippi, and especially in the area where the accident occurred. Right now, we're dealing with mainly very, very light precipitation and really undetectable on the radar itself because it is so light. But as you can see from that live camera, it is cloudy, it is overcast, it remains very cold. Any precipitation that is, or any moisture that is on elevated objects, roadways, that has a potential to freeze later tonight, as we do expect temperatures to be falling below the freezing mark for most areas. So we could see conditions like this continue overnight, even though the bulk of the precipitation is moving out of that area. And that's why I want to extend caution to everyone that may be planning to travel after sunset tonight, as we could still be dealing with treacherous conditions. But at this time, we know for a fact that the precipitation that fell along Highway 78 through Marshall County up to DeSoto County was very light for the most part, but it was likely just enough to create the icing and the slick spot that we saw on the bridge that is in close proximity to where this accident occurred. So the snow is not over by any means yet, but it does look like the focus will be lifting out as we get into the evening hours. The First Alert Weather Team is tracking it. Of course, we are going to have more updates on that. We'll take a closer look and new data on potential amounts and accumulation and how many more hours of snowfall we have to contend with. But it looks like, at least weather-wise, somewhat of a better pattern emerging across northern Mississippi now as the cleanup in that area continues.
Ron, you're not the only one who is warning folks out there as we look on some of the salt and brine trucks from MDOT there on the road. Over the state line, Memphis police saying that just since noon, they have responded to 34 crashes. So that's about 10 crashes per hour that Memphis police have responded to just in the last 3.5 hours. And you can see that MDOT is definitely wanting to take some extra precautions on this bridge after this horrible accident. We see that the Teague Express tour bus is now definitively on that truck to be pulled out of the area.
All right, now listen, think about this. This is a professional driver who's behind the wheel here, somebody who gets paid to drive professionally. And just a short distance from here, the DeSoto County Sheriff's Office says another professional driver driving an 18-wheeler tipped his rig on 269 westbound. So DeSoto County is working that. These are professional drivers who are finding it extraordinarily difficult to remain upright on these icy bridges. So, that is something to consider if you're thinking about driving today. Also, think about this. The poor folks who were aboard that bus today crashed over, and there was obviously glass broken inside the bus. We don't know if there were seat belts aboard the bus. We don't know if people had fallen on each other. And even if you were able to get outside the bus, you go out into the winter storm where there's no warmth whatsoever. It was absolutely freezing out there. We are going to keep this story covered for you live in Marshall County, DeSoto County, at the hospital, and right here in the studio. Our team is all over this story. All our resources are on it. We invite you to stay tuned as Nick Gunner takes his position as we're getting ready to start WMC Action News 5 at 3:30. We are going to be covering this story nonstop, as you see. The MDOT picture of traffic moving. More, as we say on the news, in a moment. A busy day in the First Alert Weather Center. I'm Joe Birch here at WMC Action News 5 alongside Kanji Anthony, and we are looking at pictures of a scene of a devastating accident on the Marshall-DeSoto County line today, where 2 people were killed and 44 were injured.
That's right. We have team coverage on this breaking story all across the Mid-South area. The very latest on where the winter weather is moving right now and road conditions in moments. But first, we're going to check in with WMC Action News 5's Nick Gunter. He is live with the very latest. Nick, what do you know about what's going on with this very tragic accident of a tour bus? 2 people dead, 40 others injured after the crash near Tunica.
Hey, Kanji and Joe. Yeah, this has been a pretty active scene ever since this happened a little bit earlier, about 12:30. We arrived on the scene shortly after the accident occurred, and it was very treacherous road conditions trying to just get to this accident at the DeSoto Marshall County line here along Interstate 269 as we just passed Highway 78. I'm going to step out of the way, show you what is happening right now. They have pulled the bus up right, and it looks as if they're trying to connect it to some trailers here to get the bus out of the way. You can see pieces of probably belongings to these people are just strewn along the side of the highway here as this bus did flip. And if you notice, just past this bus and past the sheriff's police cars, you can see bridges. There are several bridges here. These bridges go over a railroad track and over old Highway 78 as it goes into Byhalia. And so this could play a part in what caused this accident, as these roads were damp and these temperatures were at or below freezing underneath these bridges. So they are trying to clear this scene. You can see them scraping up now the pieces of belongings on the highway. They are also putting down salt. I'm sure gasoline leaked out of this bus too. And then a very interesting note as well, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier during the breaking news, right over my shoulder here, just on the other side of this highway, seems to be an MDOT facility with them putting things to go treat roads. So just right here on the other side of this crash that tragically happened here along Interstate 269. To make note too, I heard that this bus was coming from Alabama into Tunica, and so we are just about an hour away from Tunica here. You know, the new Interstate 269 just opened up, the fast route to Tunica, and unfortunately this fast route to Tunica turned a little bit tragic on these icy roadways. We're going to go ahead and send it back to you guys in the studio, and we'll keep up to date with this situation as it develops here in DeSoto, Marshall County.
All right, thanks very much, Nick Gunther there live on the scene for us. We have Ariana Poindexter on the phone for us now from DeSoto County on the Marshall County line where this accident happened. Ariana?
Hey, Joe, yes, we are about 15 minutes out from the scene there as soon as we arrived, hoping to learn some new information. But I can tell you we have been in close contact with our sister station, WAFF, in Huntsville, Alabama. We know that's where that charter or that tour bus is out of, that area. So we have been talking to them. They are telling us that a relative they spoke with one of the victims said that the bus was headed to Tunica to the Fifth Casino. The people on the bus were headed there to gamble. Now, that family member also telling us that some of the victims are senior citizens, but not all of them. Again, we are hoping to talk to that relative soon as we get more information. But again, my photographer and I are about 10 to 15 minutes away from that scene, so we will continue to keep you updated as we get there. Joe?
All right, thanks very much, Ariana.
Okay, we're now going to check in with Kelly Cook, who is at an area hospital. Kelly, what can you tell us?
Hey, yeah, we're still trying to get as much more new details as we can coming in from the hospital here at Baptist DeSoto. At last check, it's still the same. 18 patients transferred here to this hospital. Still 3 that's listed as serious, 15 undetermined. I'm just trying to reach out to get the very latest on the conditions of those 15 that were undetermined, as well as an age range of those who might have been affected. But that's the latest information here. 18 patients transferred here. We have seen activity. We are just not sure of how much of this activity since we've been here, which is about 45 minutes or so, might be related to that tour bus crash or how many other crashes that are happening here. We have been getting updates of a lot of slick roads here in DeSoto County. As I mentioned before, we were speaking with folks with the Mississippi Department of Transportation. They are on standby. They've been up and at them since 6 o'clock this morning, treating the roads, specifically the bridges and the overpasses, which tend to ice up and to get slick the fastest, as we've been reporting to you. They're just asking everyone to please be safe, please slow down, and take your time when traveling traveling here in DeSoto County. But that's the very latest. As far as we know, there are no patients who were transferred to Methodist. It appears as if all the patients here in DeSoto County that were affected by that tour bus crash were brought right here to Baptist DeSoto. Live in South Haven, Kelly Cook, WMC Action News 5.
All right, we have all of our team out on this story for us. Janice Broach is going to join us now live on the phone. And Janice, are you headed to Baptist Collierville?
Yes, we are, Joe. We left the Regional Medical Center where some patients were, but they have been transferred to Baptist Collierville. They have 7 victims from that bus crash at Baptist Collierville. We don't know at this point what their condition is. It is likely, since they appear to be from Alabama, on the way to Tunica to go to the Fitz to gamble, that some of their relatives might be heading this way. Now, I can tell you on our drive from the Regional Medical Center to Collierville, where we were almost at Baptist Collierville, that the roads are wet, but they are not slick. There doesn't appear to be any ice on them at all. There were some flurries when we first started our drive. Now, there doesn't really appear to be much of anything happening. And as you know, if you're driving, even more hits the windshield, and I can't see anything happening. As far as on the side of the road where the grass is, it's negligible. There's almost nothing on the side of the road. Traffic is moving very well right now, and the roads are actually drying up as we get closer to Collierville. So I don't know exactly when this is going to end. But right now, the roads are in pretty good shape. 385, which is what we're on now, we went over some overpasses, quite a few of them. Those overpasses were fine as well. So right now, driving is fine. We're headed to Baptist Collierville to see what we can find out about the 7 victims from that bus crash who are there at Baptist Collierville. Joe and Kanji.
All right, Janice. Our Brennan Richard has been sifting through the Teague Express documents, their past, what they're all about, and he now joins us here in the studio with more on that background. Brennan?
That's right, Conjure. We've been looking through some of the federal records that the bus has undergone, or the inspections, rather, that the bus company, I should say, has undergone. We found that while overall the safety rating has been deemed satisfactory, there were a number of violations that we found from last year. I'll just read some of them off of here for you. The axle positioning parts were defective or missing. That's what federal inspectors found when looking at this company, Teague Express. That was one violation. Another violation was an inoperative or defective hazard warning lamp. The steering system was worn, welded, or missing in one of their buses, as well as an inoperative turn signal. Now, most of these violations were for vehicle maintenance, but they were some pretty severe violations at the time. Nevertheless, overall, the federal inspectors rated Teague VIP Express, which is the tour bus company's name, gave them a satisfactory rating in 2017. And records also note that this company has never had a crash. Obviously, that changes today, but we'll continue digging through these records. It's quite a lot of them to dig through, and bring you an update as soon as we can. Ron?
Let's take a look at the First Alert Doppler 5 radar, because, as Janice mentioned, not a lot going on in and around that area near Byhalia as the precipitation has lifted out. She also mentioned the fact that there's really nothing on the roadways. Now, we still have the winter weather advisory. That's going to remain in place until 12 p.m. tomorrow, but temperatures have been right at or just above the freezing mark around parts of northern Mississippi, but notice temps are now falling to 29. That could have created the icing on the bridge. I want to go to meteorologist Spencer Denton, because he's been paying a very close eye to our First Alert Doppler 5 this afternoon, and he has the latest on what has been occurring and the icing that is still potentially out there. Spencer?
Yeah, we still have a lot of snow falling, especially across northeast Arkansas. And you can see the white and the blue indicate some of that heavier precipitation. I want to zoom into northeast Arkansas real quick, because this is the area that we're watching still for the most of the accumulating snow from Truman up to Blytheville, Osceola, Mark Tree, all the way back to Newport. And then we still have mixed precipitation. Jackson, Tennessee, I'll show you a picture from there in just a minute, but they have actually had quite a bit of snow on the ground. Some heavier bands have moved through parts of Madison County. Here in Shelby County, this is what we're looking at right now, getting a few breaks in southeastern Shelby County, but around Germantown and Collierville, it's easing up some. But we have some heavier snow that's falling from Bolton to Barrettville along really the northern side of 385. And as you go into northern Shelby County and even up into parts of Tipton County up toward St. Paul, and then as you go up toward Cherry along the Mississippi River. Again, all this is moving off to the north for the most part. Let's take a look at a couple of different things here. I wanted to show you a couple of things that we have been watching with this system as it's moved through. First of all, we can tell you kind of an estimate of how much snow has fallen. Now, there's been a dusting in many areas, but 1 to 2 inches already in parts of northeastern Arkansas from Newport back to Philadelphia. And as we take a look at how much is falling per hour, some of those blue areas, these dark blue areas right here, I'll zoom into it. This is 5 to 10 inches an hour. Now, it's not going to last for an hour, but that means it's putting down a good amount of snow at a quick pace between Halls and Brownsville right now, and that's going to move up toward Dyersburg. So Dyersburg, you're going to get another heavy band of snow, and then off to the west of that as well. Now we take a look at what it looks like outside. This is down in parts of northern Mississippi right now. This is actually in Clarksdale along Highway 49. So you can see there is a blanket of snow on some of those fields. The grassy area is not completely covered. As we take a look in Oxford right now, our Oxford camera shows a little dusting. It looks like the snow is tapered off there, but check this out. This is actually the view in Jackson, Tennessee right now. That looks like a winter wonderland. That's at Union University. And so we're going to be watching all these areas. But again, the heaviest snow bands have been in northeast Arkansas and in Jackson. And that is also where those road temperatures have been below freezing. Thankfully, they're above freezing here in Memphis right now at 36. And so they will continue to fall. We'll be watching that as we get a little closer. But in the meantime, Ron, some areas looking a little more treacherous than others.
Yeah, and Spencer, one thing I want to point out is even though we have road temperatures above freezing in most areas, where bridges and overpasses are concerned with the air temperature at or below freezing, that's where the icing can begin and accumulate. And we suspect that may have contributed to the accident that took place near Olive Branch on Highway 78. Now, as far as things go for the rest of the evening, we're going to continue to be dealing with snow. It should be lifting out later tonight. We'll have more on timing. We'll take a closer look at potential accumulation and have a closer look at temperatures. That's coming up in our First Alert forecast.
All right, we just got this statement from the Teague Bus Company. Our hearts and prayers go out to the families affected by this tragedy. Please keep them in your prayers. That is from the Teague Bus Company out of Anniston, Alabama, the company that owns the bus that tipped over today on the Marshall-DeSoto County line on Interstate 269.
All right, and just hearing from Lemoyne-Owen College, they have canceled evening classes due to the inclement weather. So all evening classes for Lemoyne-Owen College are canceled. We're now going to check in with our Jessica Hawley. She has been following along with TDOT. Jessica, what can you tell us?
We are live right now inside TDOT's command center. As you can see behind me, road conditions are starting to deteriorate a little bit. You can see that they're wet on the roads. But if you look at I-40 right there at Sycamore View, drivers are paying attention to these wet roadways. They're taking it slow, which is exactly what experts are asking everyone to do when we have weather like this. Things seem to be running smoothly right now. We know that since noon, MPD has worked roughly 34, if not more, by this time accidents. TDOT began putting down brine on bridges and overpasses in the West Tennessee area starting on Tuesday and continue to treat the highways and interstates today. TDOT says its trucks are staying full of brine and plows are filled with salt. Right now, TDOT has 29,000 tons of salt across the state and 500,000 gallons of brine mixed and ready to go. Plows will also be staged along flyovers and major river bridges areas. Those are the areas that do tend to freeze first. We're going to keep a close eye on road conditions across the Mid-South here inside the TDOT Command Center, and we'll bring you the latest as we get closer to the evening commute home. Reporting live, Jessica Hawley, WMC Action News 5.
You know, Joe, just seeing the war room there for TDOT just gives you the big picture of just how serious this situation is out there on the roads. People really taking it slow, it seems, and you can see there's traffic as we're not even upon rush hour yet. So
that's right.
Interesting.
Here's another thought about I-269. We covered the ribbon cutting of this new roadway, this new section of roadway in the not too distant past. I'm saying in the last month or so, we covered the ribbon cutting when I-269 opened. So this is the first storm where MDOT has had to address brine and other wintry weather issues on this stretch of roadway. And it will be important for us to find out just exactly how they did it. Did they take this weather seriously last night? We talked to Chief Deputy Megan Moore earlier today, live here on WMC Action News 5, and he said he's confident that that happened in DeSoto County, but this happened in the western edge of Marshall County. And we don't know just exactly whether or not MDOT or any other agency that was responsible did prepare these bridges for the icing, because we've had two major accidents now on I-269 this afternoon. We've had this bus tip over on I-269 near 78 and the western edge of Marshall County at Highway 78, and then we've had another 18-wheeler flip on I-269 westbound.
Okay, Joe, I think we're going to be able to get some answers. We now have Chief Chris Olson of DeSoto County Emergency Management Agency on the line with us. Can you talk with us about the conditions out there and possibly delve into some of the preparations that you know may have happened overnight there?
Yes, definitely. The weather itself is continuing. It's still coming in. Our road conditions themselves are starting to get a lot slicker than they were originally. Our temperature is staying low. So it's just people need to be really cautious about driving on it. And I think, as I heard you say, we've had several incidents involving possibly icing and so forth. I know that our county road departments are out working on the bridges with different slag and stuff they have to help with that condition, as well as MDOT. They're out on the interstate system. They were out on 69 and 269. I've seen them out helping with stuff on the bridges.
So, Chief, right now, do you have a lot of accidents working other than these two on I-269?
Right now, those are starting to wrap up and getting cleaned up. And at the moment, we're kind of doing good. The accidents are minor at the moment, but we're fearful for our people getting off work, the 5 o'clock hour and traveling back home because they got to get through that area. And we really wish that they would be cautious, go slow, and really pay attention. Speed is a hazardous thing related to these roads. It may look good to you when you're looking out the window traveling fast, but when you get to that bridge area, it gets really slick and can just cause you to lose control without even realizing it.
Can you talk about the scope of this accident that we're looking at here, where 46 people were on the bus, 2 killed, 44 injured? We're hearing some have at least one victim has broken ribs, trouble breathing, and just have you seen anything like this in your experience?
Unfortunately, in my career, yes, we have. It's not ever good to see that and have it happen. It was a very unfortunate incident. I think our first responders from the fire to EMS, law enforcement, did a good job of getting there and assisting as rapidly as they could to help get the individuals to definitive care at the different hospitals they were able to get transported to.
Chief, I know you train for these kinds of incidents all year long and keep your team on the ready for exactly this scenario. How do you feel your team performed today, and will you look back at this event and study it in retrospect to see just how many ambulances responded, just how many EMS folks made the scene, and how fast?
Yes, sir. Any incident we involve in, we're always critiquing what we do to try to improve and do things better. We got a wonderful group of first responders. They come out very well. they acted in such professional manner. They was able to get, in a short amount of period of time, they able to get the people removed and get them to the hospitals. And a lot of us do, like you say, it's from the training, the real-world experience in the training, and just the partnership and the communications.
Now, this is in western Marshall County, right at the DeSoto line, right where you are there. Do you know what the standard operating procedure is now for a wintry mix like we're experiencing today, for placing brine out on the interstate, especially this new interstate that just opened, this new stretch of I-269? Do you know the standard operating procedure for preparing the roadway in exactly this kind of situation?
No, sir. I would not be able to answer that one. I really don't know that one. That is a state-run highway system there. MMDOT would be the one that would be better to give you that answer. So I really don't know what they do. I know, this is a new interstate system. In the past, I've seen them multiple times on the other side of that system, as well as 55 and 78, put the brine down. So here, I don't know. You would have to really speak to MDOT.
Well, I know the first responders acted valiantly, as we understand that first responders, firefighters, had to go through the roof of this bus that was tipped over in order to extricate the 44 passengers who survived the accident. We understand many of them were older folks in their golden years, and so they were trapped in there. And literally, they were stuck in a situation where even if they could get outside, they'd be in the wintry weather. And so it was really a bad situation.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chief Chris Olson, DeSoto County EMA. We are now going to turn this over to Kendall Downing in Blytheville, Arkansas. But I do want to mention that we're hearing from TDOT, and they're telling us that they are treating areas and applying salt in trouble spots all across the state of Tennessee. They're working at I-269 and 385. There are trouble spots there. They're keeping crews out there, and they have enhanced response there. And they're also stationed over river bridges and flyovers. So that's good to hear. But let's check in with Kendall Downing in Blytheville, Arkansas. Kendall, what are you seeing out there? We're all across the Mid-South.
Hey, Kanji, Joe, good afternoon to you. We're here in Blytheville, as you mentioned, about an hour and some change from Memphis. An interesting situation we've seen up here through the afternoon. When my photographer Sheila and I arrived around the noon hour, we were seeing some sleet, some rain, kind of a mix. But in the past little bit, I'm going to step out of the way. You can really see that it's turned into a snowy mix here. Sheila, if you can pan over to that auto dealership across the street, you can see the amount of snow that has accumulated on some of the surfaces over there. We're actually standing for this live hit just in front of the Blytheville Middle School. All the schools here in Blytheville decided to dismiss early today. That's according to the district. We spoke to them a little bit earlier. They let out about an hour early because they told us that they have some buses that go out on some dirt roads, some county roads in this area, and they did not want to risk putting kids on the buses. We were here waiting as the school behind me got out around 2 o'clock, and at that time, that's when a lot of this snow really started picking up. The parents we talked with in the line said that they felt like the school did make the good decision to go on and let school out about an hour early before this really got up and going. And Sheila, I want to show as well, you can see right here, there is some snow starting to accumulate down here on the ground. Not a lot, but it's accumulating right now. And it does continue to fall and get on these grassy surfaces here. I also looked, we are in downtown Blytheville here, right in the middle of town. I did look at the Interstate 55 around here just a moment ago to see if it was showing any delays in this area. I did not see any, but we were noticing as we were standing out here that the area, the pavement we were standing on did appear to be getting a little bit slicker. So it's just something to consider. We always know when it starts getting dark and we have precipitation like this, it will turn icy. For now, live in Blytheville, Arkansas, I'm Kendall Downing, WMC Action News 5.
All right, thanks very much, Kendall Downing. We're in Blytheville, Arkansas, as a means of keeping our viewers there informed on what's going on. And we, take guesses when these kind of winter events happen about where we're going to have the most accumulation. We talk with our chief meteorologist and his team about exactly. And so there you see it. That's about the most snow we've seen, except for Jackson, Tennessee, where our colleague Spencer showed us a little earlier a winter wonderland.
And our Kim Clark is now in the studio joining us, and she has been monitoring this weather event. Kim, what are you here to talk about?
Well, I'm monitoring TDOT cameras, and let me get this mirrored up here so I can show you some of those TDOT cameras that we're looking at. I wanted to look at first what is happening on I-40. I see some red lines on I-240. Let's see if I can get a camera pulled up. This is I-240 at Mill Branch. The SmartWay TDOT, you can see there traffic. Hopefully you can bring that up. It's I-240 at Mill Branch. Traffic is moving rather slow there right now. A lot of traffic out there and moving slow. You can see right there. Not really sure if it's just the weather conditions, which would be likely. Hopefully people are minding the roadways and taking their time, and here it appears that way. Traffic on the other side seems to be moving well. Again, this is I-240 at Mill Branch. Let's see what we can find in Mississippi. This is pulling up another. This is the accident scene. Well, let's try another one. Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to try the Arkansas now, and I'll show you what's happening on I-55. Everything in Arkansas is looking pretty good. It's looking green right now. This is over near the Mississippi Bridge, if I can get it to pull up. For some reason, this camera doesn't want to come up right now. But I'll try and find some more spots for you that we're watching, monitoring. Everything seems to be moving relatively well. No accidents to report other than the one in Mississippi at this time. But I'm going to continue to monitor these TDOT cameras to show you what's happening on our roadways. Back to you, Joe and Concha.
All right, thanks very much, Kim Clark. Our technology sometimes doesn't cooperate with us, but we were able to see a few scenes there of traffic just inching along at I-240 and Mill Branch. And I drove in today. I had the privilege of speaking to the New Neighbors Luncheon out in Collierville at Memphis National Golf Club in Collierville today. And so I drove Poplar through Collierville and through Germantown, and it was just wet. It was just raining, light rain. But as I got into the city, and especially right at the Union Avenue Viaduct, we could see some snow accumulating. But this was about 3 hours ago now, and so it's been a little bit of time. Things may have changed.
Well, we do know that we heard from Memphis police. They're saying that they have pretty much been responding to about 10 accidents per hour since noon. So it is pretty rough out there, just a little slick out there. So you'll definitely want to take it slow and plan ahead. Those are the two words.
And consider professional drivers both tipped over on interstates today in DeSoto County and in Marshall County. So that's a thought. Let's go right now for the latest on our weather conditions to our chief meteorologist, Ron Childers.
Yeah, Joe and Conchi, I want to point out something that we're at 30 degrees in Memphis right now, and temperatures in and around the entire WMC Action News 5 coverage area right around 29 to 30. So we're all below freezing. Now, the ground temperature is warmer with temperatures in the mid-30s. So as this precipitation is hitting most of the major streets, highways, thoroughfares, it is melting on contact. However, that air temperature being below freezing is allowing some icing potential on bridges and overpasses. Now, traffic and the friction of cars passing over will melt that, but again, that air surrounding those bridges and overpasses below freezing, so we could see some icing overnight tonight, making those areas especially susceptible. I want to check in with Spencer Denton for a closer analysis of what we're seeing here, because it does look a little more promising in northern Mississippi, Spencer, just in the last few radar scans, but we're still dealing with a lot of snow back to the west and here in the city.
We are looking at some of that snow out there across the Mid-South, and it is continuing to push north. Now, here's the thing. Even in these areas that aren't seeing as much snow, you still may be seeing some. It's just not as heavy as what we're seeing off to the north. I want to zoom in a little tighter into Shelby County and show you what's going on so you can get a better idea of what's happening. And this is as we zoom down toward Bartlett and Arlington. Looks like we had a pretty heavy band just move through Arlington. It's now moving up toward Canaan Grove, and that's as you head into parts of southern Tipton County. So this is along I-40. So you're looking at I-40 right here. So these areas still seeing a good bit of snow. So really, we would probably discourage you from traveling in this area just because, like Ron said, those temperatures are below freezing, and any of those bridges or overpasses in this area are probably going to be slick or may have some icing on them already, and especially as we head into tonight. Again, we're continuing to watch this. Heavier bands up to the north across northeast Arkansas, 1 to 2, maybe up to 3 inches in some of those locations.
All right, we are all over this weather story for you, from Blytheville in northeastern Arkansas to Marshall County in northern Mississippi and across the Mid-South. We're covering a winter weather situation, a very unusual autumn winter storm, snow and ice coming our way. We are going to bring you the very latest on the accident that's claimed 2 lives in Marshall on the DeSoto County line in just a moment.